probably the first time that you are watching me on YouTube, and so this video is super special to me. This is the first month of 2021 and I'm here with the first Android smartphone that is coming with Snapdragon 888 processor. And the word first you're gonna hear in this video a lot. So the first thing we're gonna do is unbox it. I have the 128GB variant and you can get up to 256GB of internal storage variant. The box seems smaller to me than usual. Let's have a look inside. We're getting some documents, a transparent silicone case. Wow, the phone itself. Nothing surprising, there is no charger in the box. As we all know, Xiaomi is always following Apple. But somehow Xiaomi did a better job here as they are selling one variant of the phone with charger 55 watt and it costs almost $0. That means you are getting the same smartphone with charger or without any charger at the same price. Now the whole charging thing. I actually see it positively. If you consider all the manufacturers working on their different charging technologies, but removing the charger from the box will make the manufacturers more focused on settling with one solution. For example, you have only one charger of 65 watt and you can use it to charge all your devices like laptop, tab, watch and smartphone. Even there is a high chance that every manufacturer will be settling with a wireless charging solution. That makes it even simpler to charge all your devices. Now back to the Mi 11, this phone supports 55 watts of wired charging and 50 watts of wireless charging, which means you can charge your smartphone within 50 minutes whether you are charging with wired or even wireless charging solution, which is literally impressive. Okay, as I was inspecting the device, I observed two things. Number one, it's comfortable and easy to hold because of its rounded edges and matte glass back. Number two, Xiaomi tried to make it as lightweight as possible so that you can use it for a longer period of time. Even though I expected the volume buttons to come down a little bit, I like the infrared sensor on top of the aluminium frame, which you can use to control some of your home appliances like TV or AC. Now, Xiaomi removed the headphone jack, which is not problematic nowadays as most of the people are already used to wireless earphones. But I don't really like the fact that this phone is coming with only 128 or 256GB of internal storage. Don't get me wrong, 120 or 256GB of internal storage is still enough for most of the users, but as this phone can capture 8K resolutions of videos, you can do it only roughly 2 hours of videos with this 256GB of storage, which is not very impressive as my perspective. Actually, I wouldn't have any complaint if this phone would come with a SD card slot. Ironically, you are getting only 2 micro SIM card slot. I do get that Xiaomi tried to save some space from each and every aspect so that they can make the phone as slim as possible. Like the camera bump, for example. Although I'm not a big fan of this, I surely support the approach they made. If you look closely, this camera bump has 3 layers stacked one after another. The first floor contains a 5MP macro camera, followed by a 13MP ultra wide and optically stabilized 108MP Samsung sensor. At the front side, it has 20MP punch hole selfie shooter and this is probably by far the smallest cutout I have ever seen. This is so tiny that when you scroll through or watch videos, it almost seems invisible. Now the display here is significantly better in Xiaomi Mi 11, and by significant I mean Xiaomi never sold any smartphone that had the best possible display in the market. Surely there were some Xiaomi smartphones that had a very good display, but for the first time in Xiaomi Mi 11, Xiaomi applied a very good display with top spec and top quality of the whole smartphone market. The display is significantly larger 6.81-inch OLED, significantly increased resolution of 1440p, significantly higher touch sampling rate of 480Hz with a normal 120Hz refresh rate, and HDR support, which you can crank up the brightness up to 1500 nits. Now this is as impressive of a display as the Galaxy S21. It is almost coming with the similar display as Samsung. So as you would expect, the video watching experience is great with this massive screen and higher resolution. Now, this resolution is great in many ways, like you can play 1440p HDR videos from YouTube, and if you go to the settings and enable the MEMC, it will show even smoother footage, as it will put an extra frame in between if you are watching a 60fps video. And this kind of makes sense, as the display is capable of showing 120 fps per second. Plus, there are some options like AI HDR enhancement and AI image enhancement or super resolution. And if you enable these, this phone is capable of bringing out details from a lower resolution video with some AI HDR enhancement and overall better image quality video. Now, this is why it stands out for media watching, especially with the stereo speaker they have put into here. As you can see, the speakers are tuned by a 70-year-old speaker manufacturer, Harman Kardon. So it's expected to be amazing, and it actually is. It is very loud, it has enough amount of bass and almost no distortion at full volume. So yeah, for media consumption, this phone is straight A+. However, in day-to-day life performance, I expected this phone to be not very good, as it is coming with a Chinese version of MIUI. Especially I am using the Chinese version of this Mi 11 smartphone, which does not come with a Play Store pre-installed, but you can easily install the Play Store from the Get apps which is installed in this smartphone. Now, one thing to note here, most of the Chinese version of MIUI does not come with Play services pre-installed, but this one does. So you just have to install the Play Store separately and you can use everything just fine. Now, if I talk about the user interface, once upon a time I was very pleased with MIUI, because MIUI had one of the richest collection of features that Android smartphone could offer at that time. But from the last 3 generations of MIUI, it became buggy, more RAM hungry, and overall not very pleasing looking UI. I don't like this squarish and kind of cartoonish looking UI, and some bugs here and there like this one you are watching. And what I hate most about this MIUI is its RAM management. This UI is so aggressive about RAM management that it will kill almost all apps after not being used for 10 minutes. I mean, this is ridiculous. I don't understand why MIUI needs to free up the RAM while they can use their 8 or 12 gigabytes of RAM just to store some recent apps, maybe 3 or 4. But I have noticed it so many times in MIUI that when I was filling up a form or surfing a web using my web browser or Chrome, then I have suddenly noticed that when I was filling up a form and go to the next page, and when I go back to the previous page, I lost everything. This is just ridiculous. This is why I always prefer iPhone or any other manufacturers over MIUI just for their RAM management. And MIUI needs to fix this as soon as possible. However, if I put the RAM management aside, this is not a very bad UI. It has an app drawer. You can install any launcher and apply an icon pack you like, customize the wallpaper you like, or refresh them with the new one after each hour. You can make a clone app of each app if you need to, or enable the network monitoring to see whether anything is passing through your Wi-Fi or data pack. Besides all these customizable features, the UI feels rocket fast. Including 120Hz refresh rate, beautiful UI animation, and the powerful Snapdragon 888 processor, this feels extremely fast smartphone. If I talk about this processor, it comes with integrated 5G modem, upgraded CPU and GPU with improved ISP and DSP. This time, this Snapdragon 888 has one high performance core, 4 power saving core, and rest 3 is in between of them. If you look into the Geekbench and Antutu benchmarking score, this chip does not perform significantly better than the last gen 865. So I would say Xiaomi could not optimize this chipset well. But I can definitely say this chipset is more stable than the 865, as you can see the stress test graph. Still, I would say I will look into the Samsung Galaxy S21 to understand the Snapdragon 888 processor better. And if you want to see the review of Samsung Galaxy S21 or S21 Ultra, then definitely do not subscribe to our channel because we already have many. Next is gaming, and when I was using this smartphone, I felt confident in gaming because each and every game I could push the graphic settings in the highest possible one. You can play PUBG in Ultra HD settings and smooth graphics, and you can pretty much be sure that this phone is not gonna overheat even if you play for hours. I played Asphalt 9, Free Fire, Call of Duty and Super Mario Run at their highest possible settings, and what I felt is smoothness and zero lag. Though I'm not much into gaming, but I can definitely say for gaming this phone is like A+. So for now I am almost in the last part of this video, so let's talk about the camera. It has the triple camera setup, and in the rear side I would say this camera performs A grade, and in the front side this camera performs almost B-. So let's talk about the video first. This phone can shoot up to 8K 30fps video with OIS so that you can get a smoother footage in 8K resolution. Plus, this camera does not have any issues with autofocus. In 8K resolution, you can use the autofocus smoothly, which you could not do it in Snapdragon 865 in both S20 Plus and some other Xiaomi phones. Both 8K and 4K resolutions have very good color, good amount of contrast and not very much over sharpening going on. In the front camera, you are getting a 1080 pixel slow motion video plus 1080 pixel 60fps video shooting option, no 4K options. So this is that. Now let's talk about the photographic section. In photography, you can use both 108 megapixel options or our regular options to capture the images. In 108 megapixels, you're getting more noise and a bit more details in the photos, but I would suggest you to use regular mode so that you can save up some spaces, as this does not come with an SD card or a very large storage capacity. But the images here looks more colorful, has a very good dynamic range, enough amount of details and enough amount of contrast. No complaint about the camera. But in front camera, it does not perform that well. If I compare the quality with the rear camera, then I would say this almost have the half of the quality of the rear camera. The front camera does not have a very good dynamic range, it does not have enough details about this price. Plus, this does not have enough color information with a very low contrast level. So I would say the front camera is straight B- if I mark the rear camera as A+. In low light, I expected this phone to perform a little bit better. Maybe I expected a little less noise or a little bright image. Plus, it has some slow shutter issues, so you might end up with some blurry images. So I'm not very happy with the rear and front camera in low light performance. Now, as this smartphone costs only $600, I did not expect it to be like a $1,000 smartphone, but I would say at this price range, $600, this performs very good. It has a very good performance. It has a extremely good display, a decent camera setup, plus not a very bad MIUI. Especially if it is coming with the global version of MIUI, I would say this would perform a lot better. That's at least I'm expecting. But do I recommend you this smartphone? I would say no, because none of the first generation of anything is good enough. You have to give the manufacturers a little bit time to make the chipset to work better with their smartphone. I will suggest you to wait for some other manufacturers to release Snapdragon 888 processors smartphone. Till then, I would say just wait. So hopefully I think you did enjoy the video. If you do like the video, then please like the video and subscribe to this channel. So today, tata bye bye, দেখা হবে পরের কোনো ভিডিওতে।